wanna do a podcast? We make a darn good team. It always goes without a hitch. Let's head to Twitch and go start up the stream. Do you wanna do a podcast? It's the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Let's start now. Hi everyone and welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Come?
Alright, I'll do my own bits myself.
Oh! Oh wait, no silence.
We're doing it. Get off the road.
Hey Dave, why did the Avengers turn on location tracking on Black Widow's phone? Because she was always roaming off. You're oddly appreciative of such things today, Dave. Thank you very much. Hey everyone, welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. I'm Boater. And it's been a cool week. We've got a bunch of topics that we want to talk about. Dave here. Okay, good. The true Dave is here. Hi, everybody! I won't let him get threatened by like that. Anyway, that was all the bit I had. Okay, but if he's still busy, that's fine. Hi, how's everyone doing this week? Dave was surprised with some behind-the-scenes tasks here on the channel. I mean, Dave has been here the whole time and is very appreciative of Don't You Dare.
Oh, when did I get here?
Oh, hi! Other Dave? You're Other Dave now for the rest of the day. Welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast with Boater, Dave, and Other Dave.
Oh, God. Gotta make sure to turn that game audio down.
Hi.
So, cool news breaking here on the podcast. We have a new window display, and until Dan comes in tomorrow and redoes it, because Dan is, of everyone, the interior designer, it'll be the display that I designed and then Steve and I executed, down to the fact that things were getting cleaned with a toothbrush. So don't ever claim that I don't put the passion in. But you know what? Actually, while we're here and while I'm doing this,
Yeah, I
because
tried to. Oh my God!
this is a glass table.
Yep, it shows.
It needs be cleaned, audience. It needs be cleaned.
I would like to see this masterpiece design. Well, Dave, where can people come to see this masterpiece design?
Well, you can see this amateur design here at Insane Games in the Wilton Mall. The two new window displays are now up surrounding the Insane Games TV studio. And I really appreciate the opportunity to design and execute on it. And thank you to Steve and Nicole for helping, because in other news, today was a really busy day at the store.
Nice.
And it was really good sales, awesome trade-ins. Unfortunately, it doth not condone me being outside of the store doing displays. So much love to Steve and Nicole for assisting in such things.
Dave was able to get out of the store to work on that, even though it was busy, and that's all Steve's fault. Steve's fault.
Exactly. Steve's fault that everyone likes this store and that it's successful. Darn you, Steve! And capitalism!
And video games.
Video games! How dareth!
I thought there were going to be go-go dancers there. I mean, that might be what Dan ends up doing as replacement.
No. It'll be Go-Go Daves and Go-Go Steves.
God.
It'll
Go-Go
be
Gadget, get the hell out of here.
It'll be more just a display of like me holding up an Atari. Who going, "What's that?" "It's an Atari, you slob!"
And Steve's in the other window trying to do sign spinning, but just fumbling it. just like a giant. Actually, yeah, the big old corrugated cardboard, like the Insane Game sign over there. You can see Steve trying to like, and then just there's not enough room to him to even spin something around.
No, I don't have time to hang that. Never mind.
Oh no! Why did you point out a thing I could use?
I'm pretty sure that would fit. The only problem is it's not centered, so for me to stack it on top of each other, it would be justified to wrong sides. So,
Feh, I say.
I am rather proud of the display. It features featuring games, boxes, and systems of current day, and reference to Boater's favorite Fortnite, and the other side is a love note to the years of. Well, it's a lot of Sega stuff because Sega's not really around anymore now, is it?
and we have a lot of boxes for it. Not that we don't have boxes for other stuff. And also, apparently, one of the boxes had a magnetic strip in it. That was fun. Meh, meh, meh.
Thank you very much, Victoria's Secret, for leaving the security system enabled.
It had to be that. Let's rip the speakers out of here, but nope. Meh, 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 meh.
I have so many stories, and I wasn't able to pre-pull any of them or send any to Boater, and I apologize for that.
At all. So knowing that and that we got a late start, let me dive into a Twitch ban really quick.
Yes.
I found one about Indie Fox also being banned from TikTok now. Psh, I don't care. Be gone. Aiden Ross, who I think we've mentioned before being banned. I'm not sure. The name certainly sounds familiar.
Probably.
Banned for using his phone while driving. I don't know why you're streaming from your car, and I don't know when you're on stream you decide to use your phone that you're apparently not. It's not what you're streaming from. Oh, was that when I was at a red light? No, the stream was there for us to see. I think it's permanent this time, guys. Quote, I'm so sorry, I feel horrible. There's no comment there, so maybe he's sorry that he feels horrible? I don't know. He doesn't sound apologetic. Certainly like it was a bog standard, oh no, someone caught me messing up. Don't use your phone in the car. Didn't you watch Doctor Strange? Come on. Wait, no, then he gets superpowers. That's a bad example.
No, you don't get superpowers, you get magic powers. That was the introduction to the MCU of, pardon me as I push my glasses up my face. Actually, it was the introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the idea of magic rather than superpowers.
I mean, isn't ability to wield such power a superpower?
True.
It's not, I mean, you know, we can call Iron Man a superhero.
Indeed.
Even though Tony Stark has no real superpowers aside from his ego.
And by the way, so many billionaires in the world, and none of you, not one of you, are Batman or Tony Stark.
No, but one went to space for like a minute and a half, even though it wasn't the generally defined legal definition of space.
No, of course. Well, so no, Richard Branson did what Spaceship One did when I was in high school. Sent a private citizen to space without any government involvement at all, and so it's really cool that the billionaires are now,
trying to escape the hellhole,
sending each other out of here, which is cool. Just go. We'll be better off without you.
Also, Elon Musk is on legal deposition record as saying that he doesn't enjoy running Tesla, as long as we're talking billionaires.
I mean,
he's in court because of the Solar City mess up a few years ago. Money is a superpower. Oh, I want a superpower. Anyway, Dave, anything particularly interesting coming out the next 7 days?
Actually, there is something very interesting coming out on the 16th. That would be this Friday. Nintendo released a game for the Wii, and it was, by all accounts,
a game.
Middling. Because fans of the franchise were mad. Casual folks didn't understand the references and nuances to the further canon in this franchise, and they had Link hold the sword in the wrong hand because you were using Wii motion controls for the attacking.
I was hoping that I'd be able to get a word in edgewise because you didn't specify that it was Legend of Zelda, and I wanted to be like, yeah, Mario Golf was just really rough for that generation.
This Friday, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD is coming out for the Switch. By all accounts, they seem to have done it again with remastering Zelda titles. This is not a title when they announced it that people were all that enthused about. To say that they wanted Wind Waker or other ones before that, but um, if I win the lottery before Friday, I will definitely be picking up a copy, and then I'll be hi-yahing my way all week on the weekend Wednesday.
Yeah, like it looks so you can still use the motion controls if you want using the Switch controllers, or you can just play it as, a normal Zelda game using a Pro controller or docked with with the controllers docked to the Switch itself.
Yes.
You have options now, and that's the big thing that people are looking forward to. A lot of Skyward Sword's criticism were leveled at the motion controls of the Wii. It was Wii Motion Plus by that point, but that's still only so good.
It was Wii Motion Plus, but it was like one of the first
Yeah.
games to really utilize it.
Yeah, right after
and
Wii
it brought
Sports Resort
people
Plus.
to no end of frustration.
Yeah. So there was some controversy at some point about like a particular feature of the game being locked behind an amiibo, but I mean, you can spoof amiibos pretty easily at this point, so it's not a huge issue.
Oh, um,
I think like some fast travel ability, being able to go
yes.
between sky and ground if you have, I think if you have like a specific Loftwing amiibo.
It will be sold with the released with the game, which means that best you get one, or you'll be paying triple for it, because the scalpers are, getting desperate and out of stuff to scalp.
Or again, you can yar the. I mean, not that I would say to do that, but I've definitely yarred a few amiibo equivalents in my day. Mostly with Animal Crossing when I wanted to get a specific villager.
Mm.
So that's that. Anything else of note, or we'll just keep it at Skyward Sword?
Skyward Sword was really the big one.
Cool.
There's a couple other titles, but there's nothing on the same level.
Before we get into news, bit of personal whatever. I made my triumphant return to a movie theater this past weekend to see Black Widow. It was the only movie showing in Regal at Aviation Mall. So they had a lot of movie times available. They have 9 screens, and there was basically a showing every half hour. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really cool to go back and see an MCU movie on the big screen.
Very nice.
It was a really good time. I think it's a really good movie. I don't know if I would list it along with some of the greats of the MCU personally. I don't know. I'd have to watch it some more, but I really enjoyed it. And you know how in Mad Max Fury Road, Mad Max isn't the main character. He
Did
might be the
not
point
see
of view
Fury Road.
character, but like the story isn't about him.
Okay.
It's about Furiosa. That's one way of looking at it, and I kind of look at Black Widow the same way. As much as she is the protagonist and she's the one doing things, Natasha Romanoff is not the character with the most agency that has the most focus as far as character development and so forth. So considering it's something that is sort of a prequel, it takes place in between some of the movies that are already there.
Okay.
They didn't have a whole lot of freedom with Romanoff's character, so they have new characters that they do that with, and they did so very well. So, yeah, I saw Black Widow. It was great. I wanted to share some non-spoilery thoughts about it before we dug into the news this week.
So, would you recommend that? I know I have Disney Plus, so I could watch it there.
Yeah.
But was it worth the trip to the theater?
I would say worth the trip to the theater. If you have Disney Plus, I think you still have to do the pay $30 to rent it for a couple of days, because it's a theatrical release, and Disney will do that sometimes, like on top. And I don't know if it is for at home, but I do understand that there is still hesitancy for going out to theaters. The only reason I was comfortable seeing it at Regal is because they have those like 5-foot wide recliner chairs, and you're basically social distance from everyone anyway. So that's why I was comfortable doing that. But if you are uncomfortable going to a theater to see it, I understand. I don't know that it is you need to see it right now to pay for it on Disney Plus to pay the extra. Maybe wait until it drops to the regular bundle of movies that you can get with your regular subscription. But if you think you might be comfortable going out to a theater, if you're fully vaccinated, and especially if you have a theater nearby that's some of those big seats where you're more distance from your neighbors, then it was worth going out for the theater experience as well. So it's the complicated thoughts of, was it worth going to go see the movie? Absolutely. Is it worth going to a theater? Well, that's a complicated question nowadays. For me, it was. It is behind a paywall on Disney Plus. Yeah, it's like $30, I think, and that's about the equivalent of what you spend with two people going to a theater between tickets and concessions. So if you have popcorn at home and you and someone else want to say, you know what, we'll save the theater experience, but the two of us have a decent sound system and a good TV, go for it. Cool. So that was that. Dave, you said you have a ton of topics. Lay one on me.
Okay. Here they go. So, as a fan of wrestling, and as a person who takes in sports entertainment, as it's called in WWE, and pro wrestling, as it is jokingly called literally everywhere else.
Yep.
An unconventional, but yet conventional thing that is done in these live events, and especially in wrestling. It's done in pro sports as well, where audiences will go there and they will hold up signs expressing messages of discontent towards the opposing team, or trying to get in line for their friends, or 500, this and that and the other.
Yep. Anything to have a camera notice you. And
yes, an RPG war is being waged.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
At invading the world of professional wrestling. An article that originally caught my attention on GameBite, where the person noticed, and I've noticed this too, at a lot of recent wrestling events for WWE, AEW, ROH, AWE, and the NWA, and indie wrestling, people have just been holding up signs expressing discontent of various RPGs, such as Final Fantasy VIII sucks. Final Fantasy VIII is underrated. Final Fantasy VIII is filth. Final Fantasy X2 is better than Final Fantasy VIII. That's a little low.
Yeah, that's kind of a gonad kick.
Persona 5 sucks on an AEW show. There's links on the article to other ones that I will read, look at, and it's terribly interesting. A dude during the main event managed to sneak this. They weren't in frame and reached their arm in so that while they argue Final Fantasy VIII, we stand Final Fantasy Tactics. This during an AEW main event that was quite good between Hangman Page and, to be honest, I don't remember the other opponent because Hangman Page won.
Was there a reason for this, or just someone decided to, someone woke up and chose violence?
I believe it really is just wrestling events have always promoted earnest freedom of speech, and they want audience interaction. They want it so bad.
Yeah.
Interact
with us. I don't care if it's not about what main event is, but interact.
Well, that's the point. It's live theater.
Yes.
The wrestlers are there to get a reaction from the audience, and you are more involved if you are feeling passionate about things. And the performers will react to the wrestlers. Will react to what the audience brings them. And this has been in various forms where wrestling federations have allowed people to bring weapons that they would then take from the audience members and use in the matches, and things like that. But in this case, Final Fantasy VI is still the GOAT at an ROH show.
Yeah, that...
that's a reference to Persona. Drakengard sponsored a WWE event once. Another person held up a localized Mother 3. But these
Wow.
these folks, Kingdom Hearts sucks. Ooh.
Oh.
Buff King DDD. um, Ban Bayonetta. These are so good, and because of this, the guy behind me can't see is a very
Classic,
popular one
classic.
that I myself have even brought to live wrestling events. But to cap it off, the writer of the article did finish with someone holding up a "My mom makes great lasagna," and that made it to Airship.
Yeah.
That was a
Wow.
low blow. But things like this, it's awesome to see that now that wrestling events are once again having live audiences, the audiences are making their voices heard
Mhm.
based upon the product that they are seeing, or in the case of a very frustrated internet, the RPG war, you are being not heard on Reddit and wherever it else is you piss and moan about these things, but so you have brought it to the live arenas.
I like the idea that like fans that have been watching wrestling where they haven't had the live crowd realize that that is something that gives it so much, and so they just bring that chaotic neutral energy straight with them when they finally get the chance to be there and say, "This is what people watching on TV are missing. By God, I am going to be part of this event." That's really cool. WitcherCon happened last week or over the weekend.
Oh.
CD Projekt Red holding a great big thing with a bunch of announcements for The Witcher. The things that I noticed, I watched the trailer for season 2 of the Netflix show this morning. And the trailer is like, that sure is some cool stuff that I'm looking forward to the continuation of the story. Nothing that totally like grabbed me and said, "Oh yeah, you will be waiting for December with bated breath."
Mhm.
But I'm ready.
Yeah.
My body's ready. Free DLC is going to be added to Witcher 3, the Wild Hunt Complete Edition. The Complete Edition is the re-release on next-gen systems. The free DLC added is going to be possibly like items and more quests and stuff that are inspired by the Netflix show. A lot of people are getting into The Witcher because of the show, whereas like it was a book series and a lot of people liked it. Then it was a game series. A lot of people got into that, and now they go back there. And then a lot of people are getting into it because of the Netflix show, and it's bleeding back into other things. That, and they announced even more things that people can get into Netflix on. Actually, sorry, these were previously announced, but they gave a few more details about the board game,
Mhm.
which originally was canceled. They went to Kickstarter to fund it. It was amazingly funded, and they're going to be coming out with that. The Witcher Monster Slayer, which is an augmented reality mobile game. Look around. Maybe you'll see that shirtless Geralt that you're looking for. Demon Dragon? Oh, there he
Probably.
is. As well as more stuff about The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf, which is a anime movie that'll be coming out, I think, next year. Again, with this, I was more just let me summarize WitcherCon rather than going into detail on all of those. If you are more interested in that, by all means, you can look it up. But it was kind of cool that they just did like, all right, we're not going to do it for all of our stuff because goddamn, if we talk about Cyberpunk 2077 even a little bit, we're going to get our butts ripped apart. So just Witcher, everybody, and everybody was like, yay! Speaking of Cyberpunk 2077, the most downloaded game on PS4 last month because it finally released on PS4 again. It's like, oh, is this a big important thing? No, it's out and people want to play it.
And good on you folks for trying it out for yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the thing you were going for, I really do hope that game
I
is.
hope it's a pretty bug-free experience for you. Signs point to maybe, but I hope so. It is. It's always been hard to find a PS5 and an Xbox Series. It is now actually starting to get hard to find PS4 and Xbox One. That microchip market's hurting. So whatever, if you can play it on a system you got, especially if it's one that lets you upgrade it later on, I think PlayStation will let you do that. Then just go for it, and you'll be able to play it better when you finally get a PS5. Lay another one on me.
All right, so this is one that I saw just as my second half
Yeah.
of my sprint in the day. kicked off that
Speaking of hard to find consoles,
apparently the Security Service of Ukraine, or SBU, discovered nearly 3,800 video game consoles and nearly 5,000 pieces of computer equipment that were seized because they were being used to mine cryptocurrency. They found the location near an energy distribution company inside of the country. It was discovered that it was discovered because all of a sudden there was an energy spike in the area, and they went to investigate. Apparently, the location was paying for its own electricity, but was also bleeding out some of it illegally to try to mask how much electricity they were using.
okay.
But as someone that noticed when I got rid of my PS4 and got a PS5, my apartment's electricity bill went down.
Huh.
Because the PS4 is always on. Even if you turn it off, it's still sucking in as much power as it would be when it's taking in less, but it's still more power than other things when they are off.
Then if it was just straight up
Yes.
off.
Yeah, so
like
this
Xbox
had to
One
have been
has that like standby versus off thing going too.
an absurd amount. For those of you that don't know, crypto mining is illegal in Ukraine, especially because it's a big power sink among the many other things that happen because of it. So this
I think
operation
their energy
was
grid's a little on the shaky side. I thought that the raid was because it was just stolen electricity that they weren't paying for. But if it was straight up, no, crypto's illegal, and they were going for it, like, don't do that. Set it up somewhere else.
hilarious and very interesting.
Yeah, it's like those 4,000 PS4 Pro consoles were taking how much power? Like, the more I hear about crypto stuff, the more I hate it. And yet I still own a bit. I haven't bought more, but I'm waiting to sell till it's worth more. So, disclaimer, take it as you will.
It's very interesting that so many people, and this happens all the time in regards to attempting to profit off of illegal activity. You name it, it's being done somewhere. But just the fact that like this is something that's not easy to hide. 3,800 PS4 Pros, while small, that's a small bunker worth of things. And then apparently the computers that were also used. Through reading the article and things, I did realize that you can use pretty much any electronic to mine cryptocurrency. But you're going to make more headway with the more power that you're using.
Yeah, I mean, you could
this.
root an Android phone and use that to mine cryptocurrency. The most bang for your buck is in graphics cards. There's graphics cards in the PlayStation, and it's a relatively affordable bundle of really powerful stuff. If you want to get a standalone graphics card with the same power, you're paying like twice the price. I know, because I want to upgrade my graphics card because it's 5 or 6 years out of date. Oh my god, I'd be paying like $1,200 or something. Largely because of crypto mining keeping it this way, even as semiconductor manufacturing is slowly catching up. Crypto mining just keeps buying all the stock. So, can we please go to proof of stake? Ubisoft. Remember how they've been in trouble with sexual harassment complaints?
Indeed.
Yeah, I don't even need to specify a time because it's kind of a regular thing for them. In their annual Universal Registration Document and annual financial report, they listed the following as risks related to talent: departure of key talents, high risk; inability to attract and retain talent, high risk; occurrence of inappropriate behavior by employees, moderate risk. I'm not going to read this full page from the report, but it starts off with the values and image of the group are conveyed on a daily basis by Ubisoft team members. And that's supposed to be a lead-in that says that, oh yes, behavior is very important to us and we want to make sure that everyone is playing by the rules. What it reads as, yes, our values don't give a shit and the daily behavior by people reflects that. Um, let's see. This type of harmful behavior can lead to This type of harmful behavior can lead to the departure of people at all hierarchical levels of Ubisoft. Those who feel they no longer fit Ubisoft's values, and those whose unanticipated departure is the result of application of a zero tolerance policy in this respect. Oh, I was wondering how they were going to say that like higher ups were leaving because of it. Oh well, we tried to implement a zero tolerance policy, so the people who were Oh, okay. The people who were, perpetuating it ended up leaving because they felt persecuted for their own actions,
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Corporate response, standard.
Yep. Which can lead to a loss of efficiency within the teams and value creation within the group. Similarly, Ubisoft's reputation and image could be harmed, which could also affect Ubisoft's attractiveness for new talents and lead to distrust in the gaming community. And then, as though they had nothing to do with it and it were some outside force act of God acting upon them, in mid June 2020, the group was struck by a movement to denounce toxic and sexist behavior within Ubisoft's teams, which was relayed by social networks and the media. Like, it's all written in very passive voice, like this happened to us, rather than this is the result of our own actions and inability to get rid of this toxic culture at our company. Like top down, they need to pull out a lot of people because if they don't, they're going to lose a lot more people. Is more or less what the report says. It says people are leaving because of this environment, and because the news is out there of this environment and there's a lot of talk about it, more people don't want to join us. That's more people going to EA, to Activision, to I don't know, Take Two, to 2K, whoever. Um, Ubisoft is finding consequences to their actions and lack of actions, and because of documents, it's interesting to see the corporate speak way that they have to present that.
Always, unfortunately, due to corporate structuring and things like that, and just in life in general, uh, the day to day for any one person in a company is not necessarily black and white. It's a matter of shades of gray and things like that. And it's unfortunate that folks are faced with behaviors and things like that are tolerated, if not promoted, in some companies, and then that some people are forced to be in environments that they are no longer comfortable in, or things like that. And it is a hope that these many acts of coming forward and talking about these things and revealing do enact a certain change, and not just a pushing to the shadows of behaviors and things that are tolerated on a corporate level.
Yeah.
But
You know, we want to see that systemic change at Ubisoft that gets rid of that culture that um, is okay with that. The high end corporate culture that says, I know they did that, but they're doing good work, so deal with it. We want to see that change at Ubisoft. And again, they acknowledge if they don't, they're going to lose a lot of people and not be able to replace them.
Well, there will always be people looking for jobs. That's the issue.
Although an
Companies like
interesting
that
thing
have been.
with this economic recovery is that people are being a bit pickier in finding jobs. So that might be working against their ability to attract talent as well.
I do hope that is how it works, and I do hope that Ubisoft gets a certain comeuppance. If you want to hear more of the details of what we're referencing and talking about, previous episodes of the Nerd Glasses are up on YouTube down below. The link will be for you to see us covering a lot of these issues in depth and as they occurred and what became of them. Inappropriate behavior, inappropriate commenting, and just general failed leadership in some cases in some of the stories that we have discussed. Interestingly enough, I did have a tidbit from Ubisoft, and it could definitely be a matter of no longer having the staff to do the things they need to do to upkeep live services or the products that they are selling, and that is that Ubisoft has delisted Might and Magic 10 while it fixes the game's DRM issues.
We talked about those issues last week, yeah?
I believe so.
Yeah, the DRM server got taken down because they took a lot of servers down that weren't being used anymore, but that means you can't play the single player game.
This one specifically was just chatting about the fact that there was a bug that prevented folks from finishing the starting level and accessing the DLC, but then we're still selling the game and the DLC. And then it was brought to their attention. They acted as if it was brought to their attention a month and a half later.
Yep.
And have taken it down, and it has not been up since. And being that a lot of these games, as mentioned last week and in many other cases, when your single player offline game requires an online component, you are selling people not a single player offline game.
Mm-hmm. You are selling people an excuse to pirate.
Um,
Yar! Boy, I'm not advocating that a lot this episode, aren't I?
Yes, you are. Um,
Again, PC games.
and there's a lot of different stories that I've struck with, but one interesting discussion topic that came through was a user mod for The Witcher 3, a storyline quest called A Night to Remember was distributed, and it brought up this idea of, with all of the current technologies and things that we have to basically recreate people's likenesses and voices and actions and things like that, are career performing arts going to become tougher for people? More specifically, the fact that all of the voice acting in this expansion mod sound very convincing, and people were very excited for it. And excited for it. People were happy with it, with the quality of it, and so it brought up the discussion question. I wanted to bring it to you and to the people here on who are watching tonight on Nerd Glasses. Is the fact that companies will be able to reproduce performers and things like that a good thing, or will it be used to then have someone come to the studio for the initial recording, but then you sign away the likenesses, you sign away the work that you do on these things, typically to the larger company, and then that Geralt character voice is the product, is the property of the company, so they may not need to call you back to record for DLCs and things like that if it's not whole new lines or things of that nature.
Yeah, I don't like. I do want to hear what people think about this. I definitely don't like it. If someone's a voice actor who is doing a character, like it's one thing to get recast. It's another thing to just completely replace it with AI generated voice, because there are some decent AI voice generated things out there. A video that had me in stitches a few months ago was the Spy is a Furry thing that was like animated in Source Filmmaker, and they took all the voice lines from these characters in Team Fortress 2 and put them together so that it can be auto-generated when you just enter text, and it will create something that sounds like that voice actor. Now, in that particular one, I could hear the fakeness behind it, but we're not that far away from it. Like, we've already got some pretty good deep fakes out there visually, and this is something where orally it's going to get there as well. And I do want to see protections for actors, because otherwise, like, not just in voice acting, but if someone, you know, acts in, I don't know, someone, give me some D-rate Marvel character that ends up in Phase
Or
5.
or I mean, look at Princess Leia,
Yeah.
or Tupac Shakur. Um,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if someone comes in just for, like, uh, a movie for, yeah, MCU Phase 5, and then they want to keep using that character, they don't need to worry about what the actor wants to do. Or perfect example of Robert Downey Jr. basically retiring Tony Stark. He doesn't really want to do that anymore. If the
Yeah.
check's big enough, sure, but if the technology's there, then Marvel doesn't need to cut him a check, and they could do that. And I do not like that idea. Um, like I want to see protection of personal image and personal voice out there. And there is certainly, like, legally it is out there, like posthumously. um um Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow had to approach Laurence Olivier's estate to use his likeness in the movie. And I want to say that legally the protection is there, but I want to see it called out specifically for that kind of thing. Um, and I also do want to see. Hmm, is this a fan mod that was created?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's something where, like, all things like that are technically illegal because they're using assets that belong to the company. I'm not sure what I want to see done with the enforcement on that. I do want it to be illegal to protect the likenesses and voice and such of the actors. I'm not sure about enforcement on fan projects. Like, if I did a Star Wars fan film and I used John Williams' score, it's technically illegal, but nobody really cares. So I'm not sure how I want to see that. Um, Demon Dragon says, if there's a way to cut costs and maximize profits, a company will take it. If AI voice ends up cheaper than hiring actors, they'll take it. Actors will have to put something in their contracts to protect them, but that won't stop a company from seeking an actor that won't protect themselves. Which is why I want the legal default to be that, their appearance belongs to them. Um, there's been lawsuits of, oh, this Fortnite character um, looked like they were completely
The
copying my
dances, the
thing.
characters,
Yeah.
the skins. There's been a litany of that, and then Booker T, the five-time loser, trying to sue Activision Blizzard about the Black Ops character and things like that for
Yeah, so, like,
likenesses
I
and
want to see that stuff specifically enshrined in law, that is protected.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's going to be case by case lawsuits. Because if Robert Downey Jr.'s likeness, is put together for Iron Man 4, and he's like, I'm friggin' sorry. Like, if you recast him, he doesn't have much say in the matter, I
exactly.
assume. But if it's his likeness and his voice, he can absolutely take them to court. But I don't want it to be an up in the air thing. I want it to just be straight up illegal. That's my thoughts.
It'll be interesting. I know that for example, when I was in high school, we bought this expensive new sound system for our theater, and we realized that the microphones came with a function where if someone spoke into it, said the alphabet uh, numbers from 0 to 10,
Hmm.
and then certain key phrases, that machine could then reproduce a facsimile of that person's voice that we
Wow.
then used and tried out. We had our vice principal do it because he trusted that and knew that we, as his AV club, theater club, the Fox Lane Players, some of the greatest, were not going to then use it for anything.
Yeah.
He did the whole thing, and then we all stood there and spoke in his voice in the theater's speakers. It sounded a lot, so depending on who used it, because younger folks who had higher pitched voices, it sounded off, but it sounded more like him.
Hmm.
And then people that were able to get into his register, it just sounded like he had like a cold and he wasn't really talking clearly into the microphone.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see the growth in technology, and that, my friends, was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So Lord knows what we
And
have
that's
today.
live.
Um,
Yeah.
with all the fakes and things people are able to do. This interesting idea does segue into something else that our friends at Tencent
Uh,
are being forced to do something,
oh, good.
although they're doing it. Uh, uh, they are held over a barrel for this one, so usually Tencent boo, but in this case, it's Tencent still boo, but more of a just in general, like, hope you half-ass it. Have you
I
heard
mean,
of?
like, Tencent active now, active verb, you know, active voice, no. Tencent passive voice, yes. Something is happening to them. What is it?
Have you heard of the Midnight Patrol?
Sounds vaguely familiar? That's my
It,
code for no, but please continue.
it is a program that is going to be enacted on Tencent's games, and the games that they host and
Boy,
distribute.
that sounds nice and draconian.
Um, and uh, it leads back to, imagine if you will, the year is 2018, and the Chinese government establishes that a gaming regulator to respond to the growing concerns around nearsightedness in children, teenagers, and a lot of other crimes that were being blamed on video games. Surprise, surprise, it happens more than outside of the US. But China decided to put regulations on how long people of certain ages can play video games, when they can access them, and how long they can access them for.
Okay.
So, saying, no minors after 8 o'clock in the mall, then you just have to enforce it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to hire security, you have to check IDs, you have to ask, you have to chase, you have to do, which is what was happening. Tencent is initiating the Midnight Patrol, which is a facial recognition system that will, when you boot up a game, it just like logging into my iPhone. I turn on the screen and it looks at it and it says, "Oh, great, that's the face that I recognize," and it signs in and allows me to use it. This time, it'll log in, it'll facially recognize, oh, this person is over a certain age, and it'll allow you into the game. And if not, it'll if then statements itself and say, this person is underneath a certain age and it is past a certain time. They are not allowed to access the game.
Hmm.
And or some machines will be shutting off or things like that. And this is going to be rolled out very soon. And obviously, they're going to be testing it and bugging it and making sure that these things go off interestingly and possibly. And I'm very interested to see how that goes, and then how long it takes for
People to
companies
advocate for
to
that
decide to
here.
roll out their own.
So I don't think companies are going to do that on their own. I think that's in that particular case, I think that was something that the Chinese government more or less forced Tencent to do? Question mark? Um,
Could be.
but I I think over here, if we were to see that, it would be enforcement of age limits for like ESRB ratings on games. None of which, I again remind you, is federal law. It is all the game company voluntarily doing that.
To avoid
Um,
federal law.
uh, I I think because of how precedents have gone, rest in ashes Jack Thompson's entire legal career. Um, I don't think that it'd be an issue here in the States, but it is still something that we'll be paying attention to. Um, I don't feel up to commenting on government overreach in China at this particular moment. So I will simply say that yeah, we'll keep an eye on this, see what happens. Tencent is big. They have a lot of stuff, and they are a Chinese company, so it makes natural sense that they're the first to really roll something like this out. And we'll see if something needs to be built into games by for I assume something will need to be built in by foreign developers and publishers, either on their own or forced to use Tencent's Midnight Patrol API
Mhm.
or something. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that, I guess. Um, Dave, do you have $1.5 million?
I have $1.5 million excuses why I don't have $1.5 million.
If excuses were dollars, you would still be $60,000 short from being able to buy a copy of Super Mario 64.
Oh no.
Um, During some auctions this week at Heritage Auctions, they, rate the quality of games as far as mint, whatever, and a copy of Super Mario 64 in box, not damaged at all in shipping, given the rating of 9.8 A++, which is one of the highest that they've ever actually awarded. They have
I was gonna
awarded some
say.
they have awarded some 10s. Some of it has to do with like condition of physical media, whatever. I think for a cartridge game, that might be the highest that they've ever awarded. Went for $1,560,000. For comparison's sake, also this past week, a 9.2 rated sealed copy of Skyrim for the Xbox 360 went for $600. Why?
It's amazing what will blow up and go absolutely through the roof, and then what won't, or just doesn't.
Like, there
Um,
has just been so much this last year of rich people buying things so that it appreciates in value and they can sell it to get richer. And it's just rich people blowing each other for money. It's, you know, uh, there's been so much, and okay, the Skyrim for 600, completely sealed in box. For Xbox 360 they don't make that particular printing anymore.
yeah.
I was the first printing of Skyrim. I can see that for $600. I could maybe see that for 1,000. $1.5 million for an N64 game mint in box. I don't see it. It's There's been accusations of money laundering. There's been accusations of all the favorite things that rich people do, shady shit with money. It's all out there once you get to that point. Sorry, Dave, you can't afford a 9.8 A++ rated copy of Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64.
That's okay. I do happen to have a copier of the Super Mario 3D collection, which has already appreciated in value beyond the $59.99 I spent on it. So who's laughing now? The people who have millions of dollars to spend on a copy of Super Mario 64. You win. You win again, corporate America.
Is that copy sealed?
Which one?
Yours?
Hell no. Which is even funnier that it's appreciated considering I've played it.
Fair, actually.
I had one last thing, and it's interesting because it came through to me on an ad, but it spoke to me, and I know it's going to speak to you to a certain degree. But then I'm all out of stories for today. If you have anything else, I do want to close with it just because
Okay.
I think it will be interesting.
I will. I've got one more. A lot of my stories, and I do when they do investigative journalism and their own original reporting, I do make sure to call them out. A lot of my stories I find through Kotaku. Um, they recently got a new editor in chief, Patricia Hernandez, who talked about her goals for the site and what directions she wants to take it, and also posted a couple new jobs, which they're kind of catching flack for. They A couple of staff writers for $55,000 salary and a managing editor for $72,000 salary. All of those in New York. Quote, unfortunately, telecommuting is not an option. Kotaku has a lot of remote writers. Like, a blog lends itself a lot to remote work, and this past year and a half has shown remote work is very practical, and a lot of people will take the piss out of companies that say remote work is not an option. And then New York on 55 grand is doable, but you're eating ramen every day. Kind of arguments as well, unless you're like way out there, but technically still in New York. Um, it's more stuff that she did respond to some of the criticism, saying that unfortunately it was something from higher up. The owners of Gizmodo Media Group have just been downright rotten to every site in that group, and this is just something that it reflects poorly on Kotaku, even if it's not necessarily their fault. But I do wish the new editor-in-chief, Patricia Hernandez, best of luck going forward. You're you're getting shit from above and below, and I hope that you do great stuff with it. What do we got?
So,
The person who made a fan film of this property is asking, what do we got?
as you know, Nerd Glasses is a love letter from Boder and I and Insane Games TV to nerd culture from the scope of Boder and myself and you, the audience that helps and interacts with it, and we love you all for it. Stargate SG-1 doesn't get a lot of love publicly and in big ways.
It's not
gets-
as big as it once was, I'll grant.
It gets a lot of love, but not as much as, say, in comparison, a Star Wars or a Star Trek,
yeah.
or Game of Thrones. Even now, last season sucked. Friends, move on. But this particular podcaster, which goes under the idea of the companion, decided to do a challenge where he binged just everything Stargate SG-1, spoke to a whole mess of producers, directors, the cast, and things like that, and then took all this information and is programming an AI to write up a new episode of Stargate SG-1 using this. And when folks found out about it, different performers in the Stargate SG-1 and Stargate universe expressed that they were in and wanted to be a part of it. Someone had already been signed on to it, but this is going to be something interesting that I don't know that I don't have the full story on it just because it's behind a paywall to hear about the podcast that explains it more.
This is awkward coming from when we talked about AI voice creation. And my sense is that, they're not going to perform it, even if they sit down and do a table read. Number one, it's not going to be a full production. None of the standing sets are still there. A lot of the props they would have to go out and like rebuy from collectors or borrow, whatever. But even sitting down and doing a table read would be really cool. They're probably not going to do it exactly as the AI. Well, if it's just a table read for fun, sure, whatever. If it was something that was going to be produced, we talked about AI voice reproduction, whatever, and that extends to other people in the production pipeline. Like writers shouldn't be replaced by robots. Even if, the robots can figure out the voice of the series and the tone, whatever. Some of the best parts from shows like that come from when the tone takes a completely different turn. The Heroes two-parter episode of SG-1 won awards, and it was quite different in tone from others. So if it were something that were actually going to be produced, they would be like, here's a script the AI gave us, and then bring in some of the writers of SG-1, adding to the reunion, to actually make it shootable.
I believe the attempt of this, because this is literally announced a couple of days ago. Excuse me, this was announced a month ago, but it's been getting updated and things like that. Planning on live streaming the performance in fall of 2021. The exact details as well as confirmed stars to be revealed in due course.
Yeah, so probably a sit down, read the table, haha, like an excuse to have a cast reunion, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's from the looks of the companion and the things and the like of it. They definitely have more ideas and more projects in mind, but this is an attempt to see how this goes, and I'm guessing for them, when and if this could generate some profit to do larger projects or things like that. And I know that if I can, I will in fall 2021 buy the ticket to it to try to see it. if the live performance, which will definitely not be on this coast, is something I could go to, that would be cool. If they partner with a convention and make it a part of it, it could be interesting to see this idea of Stargate SG-1 fan written, because obviously they're not attempting to write something in canon and things like that. But I think it'll be cool, and I'm really excited to see what the AI spits back out as a script, especially of a sci-fi show that did, and could go anywhere and any time.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the two most common things. No General Hammond, though, R.I.P. Well, yes, obviously, performers that are deceased will definitely not be involved. Maybe referenced in the background.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, like depending on how detailed they can get with the AI creation, just leaving out characters. It's an interesting project, and I'll give them that. I again just kind of worry a bit about if it's just a reunion thing, cool. And trying to bill it as anything more than that is a little disingenuous.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
So I'll keep a look at that, and I'm gonna keep it in
Yeah.
mind.
Also, everything about it being behind a paywall on the site itself. It's like, come on.
I mean, you could be behind the paywall here at Insane Games TV, hitting that subscribe button, unlocking the Mike Lips emote, and so many other things
Not really a
with your
paywall.
subscription.
It's a pay streamer, maybe. You can woo! I made it. I crossed the finish line by subbing.
Yeah. Get that awesome little badge. You get to do so many things. But so many things on the network going on, Boater. What's going on next?
Well, next I will be on the Citadel playing The Outer Worlds, the continued adventures of Stacy, futuristic space cheerleader. No, sorry, team mascot. That will be next. There will be no Citadel next week or the week after. I'm taking a little bit of vacation there. I will be here for Nerd Glasses next week. But then I gotta go home and sleep and be ready for my own vacay for a little bit. But for the last Citadel before I'm gone a couple of weeks, we're going back to the Outer Worlds.
Awesome. Definitely make sure to stay on for that. And please make sure to hit that follow button here at Insane Games TV.
So many great people, so many great programs.
And we will hopefully see you later on the Citadel and next week for the Nerd Glasses.
From us here at Nerd Glasses and all of us at Insane Games TV, thank you so much for watching. I've been Boater.
I've been Dave Mann.
And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.